My name is Jim Grimm. I'm with the Freedom Committee here in Orange County. I'm a Vietnam War veteran. I flew helicopters. Currently I live in Cyprus, which is not too far from here. Been there for over 40 some years, and I did a lot of things in my years. We'll probably get into those with the questions, but I've not only flown helicopters, but airplanes, and I was a police officer, LA County Sheriff, and I flew helicopters for them, and I was a flight instructor. I did a whole lot of things over the years, so kind of a jack of all trades in a way. But now I'm a grandfather, and you guys could be my grandsons as far as the age. But I'm happy to be here with you and answer any of your questions.
Awesome. Yeah, why did you join?
At that time, I didn't join. I was drafted. Now, it's a really interesting question because my dad was a master sergeant in the Army in World War II, and he was, gung-ho Army, and he was a survivor. He was injured quite badly, but he still loved it. And when Vietnam came about, it was kind of scary because I was in college, and I wasn't ready to go into the Army or Navy or Air Force. It wasn't what I wanted to do. But the draft came along, so I put off, and I got college deferments, and finally they got me. So I was drafted 50 years ago this month.
That's cool.
50 years ago. So it's hard to imagine 50 years has gone by. So it's kind of some surprise for me. But I was drafted. I wasn't a draft dodger because those guys left and went to Canada or got married for other purposes.
The draft for the Vietnam War occurred in 1969, where men from ages 18 to 25 were selected into different branches of service. Only 25% of total forces in the U.S. were drafted at this time. Many men avoided the draft by either becoming employed, having health problems or injuries, receiving a student deferment, or even by leaving the country. The people that avoided the draft were often referred to as draft dodgers.
All right. How long did you serve for?
I served for 5 years as an active duty for 3.5 years, and then I put another 2.5 years. So actually, we're talking 6 in the reserves.
Okay. Why did you pick the service branch you joined?
Well, I was lucky because of the draft. Standing in line downtown Los Angeles when they said, "Okay, you, and you, you're going to go in the Marine Corps. You, and you are going to go in the Navy." And then there was a whole group of us. I was selected for the Army, so I went right into the Army.
All right. Where were you stationed?
Well, my tenure in the Army, it started out. I got drafted and went to Fort Polk. I went first to Fort Ord, which is up in Northern California, Monterey. And I already had my private pilot license, so I qualified for Officer Candidate School and also for Helicopter Warrant Officer School. So I decided to take Warrant Officer Helicopter School, and they sent me then to Fort Polk, Louisiana. And you talk about, I'm going to use some strange language here, but a hell of a lot. I tell you, it was terrible. You talk about snakes everywhere. I grew up in South Pasadena, so I'm a local guy. And I never saw a snake growing up, but they had snakes. They had what I thought were crocodiles, but they said there were other things, big lizards. And then I went to Fort Walters, Texas for primary helicopter training. And then from there I went to Fort Rucker, Alabama for advanced helicopter training, and then Vietnam.
How was the boot camp experiences like?
It was horrible.
Really?
It was, if you think about one day you're at home, you're sleeping in your own bed, and the next day you're put into a uniform, you're stripped of your identity because they shave all your hair off. Every single bit of it. They take all your clothes away from you, and they put that into a bag, and then they put this uniform on you, and they give you a bedding and a duffel bag and all this other stuff, and you have to, you're looking at what a shock. So you go through this emotional shock first, then you go through a kind of a physical shock, but they square you away pretty fast. They might slap you around a little bit just to get your attention, but then you really get into the PT, physical training, you get into weapons training, you get into what the Army's all about, whether it was the Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force. They all did the same thing to a degree, just that the Air Force and Navy weren't quite as hard on people as the Marine Corps and the Army. So that's really quite a bit of it.
Training in the Army consisted of many long days of practice. The training would never be easy, and these men were constantly driven. Once the men were stationed, They would undergo basic training and would later move on to AIT training or advanced individual training.
But it was quite an experience. But what it did, guys, is it cut the umbilical cord, meaning the attachment to the family.
Yeah.
So you literally become a man. You either become a man or you lose it. And a lot of guys did lose it, and they were sent home. I chose to stiff it out and make a go of it. 'Cause when I was at Fort Polk, Louisiana, I was on a bayonet training field, and we were doing thrusts and stuff like this, and a helicopter flew by, and I said, I'm not going to be down here, I'm going to be up there. And I just had that in mind. I said, that's where I'm going to be. So I said, no more. So that was my goal, right? And I made it.
That's cool.
What was your everyday life like when you were stationed?
It's really strange because it's really, you're limited. If you put yourself on a tether, okay? So the tether's here, the anchor, which is like you're at home. But you're allowed to go here, you go here, you go here, but you can only stretch the tether so far. But you can go 360 degrees. So same thing in the military. They put a tether on you and they say, okay, this is what you're going to do. But as an officer, things changed. And I was able to quite often, have days off. I could go we were stationed in Alabama, go down to Florida, go to the beaches and stuff like that, meet girls, and it was really, really fun. It wasn't bad. It was not bad. But days were, my work days during the week would be half day flying, half day academics, almost, whether I was the instructor or whether I was a student. Because even as an instructor, later on, after I got my wings and all this other good stuff, teaching guys to fly, you could learn from them. And a lot of times I went back to the academic classes to find out what they were teaching these guys, and it made me even better, so I enjoyed it quite a bit.
What specific aircrafts did you fly?
I should have brought a model, but are you familiar with the Bell helicopter? It's called a Huey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Huey had so many. There was an A model, B model, C model, D model, H model that the Army had, and then the Marine Corps had the same helicopter, but they called it a different. And then they put a twin pack on for the Navy and stuff like that. Twin pack meaning twin engines.
Were you awarded any medals or citations?
Yes, it was. Sometimes I wondered if they were worth it. In other words, when you're in combat, sometimes these things just pop up all of a sudden because you've been doing your job, and that's the way we looked at it. We're doing our job, and so I never got a Purple Heart. I didn't want one because that meant you got hurt. You had to bleed for your country to get a Purple Heart, and I didn't want that at all. But I had enough experiences where we would pick up body bags, or we'd pick up wounded men and bring them out of the jungle and take them to a hospital. So I said to myself, don't ever want that. But I had 28 air medals, and what that works out to is you got one air medal for every 25 combat assaults. So I did over 700 combat assaults.
Wow.
Did you learn anything from being in war?
From being in war, I don't want to ever go to war again. I don't want you guys to go to war again. Literally, the Freedom Committee, our whole premise is to pass the torch of freedom to you, because it's your country now. Because we're on life is a bell curve. Okay, you ever had this description of it? So you're on this side, you're coming up, and then you peak out at some point, and then you start going back on what we call the slippery slope. But as you get down, it's mainly because of age. So as you get older and you're farther down here, but you start to appreciate everything that happened in that bell curve. It's a fantastic feeling to look back. But I don't want to ever see a war again, and especially don't want you guys to have to go. I believe in the military. I think the military is a fantastic opportunity for you to expand your knowledge, expand your worldly experiences, and to do a lot of things. Whether it's fly helicopters, fly jet airplanes, or just be in the Air Force, Navy, whatever. But it's a great opportunity.